everyone, this is Afsha, a lecturer at Elizabeth High School and Junior College. Welcome back to my class. Today we are going to start the chapter 11, that is cell cycle and cell division, from unit 5 of botany into first year. And here we are going to learn about mitosis, meiosis, altogether we can say the division of the cells, how the cells will divide and how they will multiply in number. And are you aware that all organisms, even the largest, start their life form from a single cell? You may wonder how a single cell then goes on to form such large organisms, right? We all know that all the living organisms start their living or the life form from a small cell itself. Growth and reproduction are characteristics of cells, indeed of all living organisms. All cells reproduce by dividing into two, with each parental cell giving rise to two daughter cells each time they divide. So what will happen? These cells will divide and give rise to two daughter cells on division, and hence the life cycle will go on. In other words, we can say that such cycles of growth and division allow a single cell to form a structure consisting of millions of cells, right? Because this is forming new individuals, right? And that individual will consist of millions of cells in that. So we can conclude by saying that a single cell is capable of giving rise to millions of cells. So it was all about the introduction. Now let us move forward towards the cell cycle. Cell division is a very important process in all living organisms, and during the division of a cell, DNA replication and cell growth also takes place. All this process, that is cell division, DNA replication and cell growth, hence have to take place in a coordinated way. They should be coordinated with one another to ensure correct division and formation of progeny cells containing intact genomes, the proper genomes. The sequence of events by which a cell duplicates its genome, synthesizes the other constituents of the cell and eventually divides into two daughter cells, each termed as the cell cycle. The whole cycle or the whole sequence. Although cell growth in terms of cytoplasmic increase, we can say, is a continuous process. It is not a slow process, but it is a continuous process that will not stop at any place. The replicated chromosomes, that is DNA, are then distributed to daughter nuclei by a complex series of events during cell division, and these events are themselves under genetic control. So they are in the genetic control. And now let us move forward towards the phases of the cell cycle. What are the phases or stages, we can say? A typical eukaryotic cell cycle is illustrated by human cells in culture medium, and these cells divide once in approximately every 24 hours. However, this duration of cell cycle can vary from one organism to the other organism, and also from cell type to a cell type. Yeast, for example, can progress through the cell cycle in only about 90 minutes. In yeast, cell cycle can be completed only in 90 minutes. So it clearly shows that the cell cycle, the time it takes for a complete cell cycle, will differ from one organism to the other, one cell to the other, and etc. So this cell cycle is basically divided into two phases, that is interphase, and the second phase is mitosis phase or the M phase. So the M phase, often called phase of apparent division, represents the phase when the actual cell division or mitosis occurs, and the interphase represents the phase between two successive M phases. It means that before that also M phase will be there, and after that interphase will come, and again M phase will begin. So it means that interphase is the phase between two successive M phases or the mitosis phases. It is significant to note that in the 24-hour average duration of cell cycle of a human cell, cell division proper lasts for only about an hour, and the interphase lasts more than 95% of the duration of cell cycle. So this interphase will last for around 95%, we can say, of the complete cell cycle. The M phase starts with the nuclear division corresponding to the separation of the daughter chromosomes, that will be called as karyokinesis. and that is followed by the division of the cytoplasm, that is called as cytokinesis. The interphase, also called the phase of non-apparent division, though called the resting phase, is a time during which the cell is preparing for division by undergoing both cell growth and DNA replication in an orderly manner. So this interphase will be called as resting phase. We have to remember this thing. The interphase is again divided into three further phases, that will be G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase. G1 phase here corresponds to the interval between the mitosis and initiation of the DNA replication, and during G1 phase the cell is metabolically active and continuously grows but does not replicate its DNA. S or synthesis phase marks the period during which DNA synthesis or replication takes place. So this was a stage that was prior to the DNA replication, and this is a phase where DNA replication is taking place. During this time the amount of DNA per cell doubles because it is replicating, right? And if the initial amount of DNA is denoted as 2C, then it increases to 4C because it is doubling in number. However, there is no increase in the chromosomal number. If a cell had diploid or 2n number of chromosomes at G1, even after S phase the number of chromosomes will remain the same, that is 2n. So what it is saying here, only the DNA will replicate and will double in number, but there will be no change in the chromosomal number in the S phase. In animal cells during the S phase, DNA replication begins in the nucleus and the centriole duplicates in the cytoplasm, and during the G2 phase proteins are synthesized in preparation for mitosis while cell growth continues, and some cells in the adult animals do not appear to exhibit division. For example, we can take heart cells, and many other cells divide only occasionally as needed to replace cells that have been lost because of injury or cell death, and these cells that do not divide further exit G1 phase to enter an inactive stage that will be called as quiescent stage or the G0 stage of the cell cycle. Cells in this stage remain metabolically active but no longer proliferate unless called on to do depending on the requirement of the organism. Now let us move forward towards the M phase. That was all about the interphase, where we have already learned that it is also called as the resting phase, and it lasts around 95%, and it is again divided into G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase, and one more phase was there, that was G0 phase. Now it's the time for the second phase of cell cycle, that is M phase or the mitosis phase. So as I have told you earlier that mitosis phase will be divided further into two phases, that is karyokinesis and cytokinesis. Karyokinesis is the division of nucleus, and then comes the division of cytoplasm, that will be called as cytokinesis. And in the karyokinesis again we can see there are four stages, that is prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. So these are the four major stages of mitosis or karyokinesis, we can say, that is prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. Now let us learn about the prophase. What are the changes that we can see in a cell in this stage, that is prophase. Prophase, which is the first stage of mitosis, follows the S and G2 phases of interphase. It means that after the S and G2 phases of the interphase, the prophase will begin, or else we can write like this here only. In the S and G2 phases, the new DNA molecules formed are not distinct but intertwined. Prophase is marked by the initiation of the condensation of chromosomal material because they are intertwined with one another. In the prophase stage, the chromosomes will condense and the chromosomal material becomes entangled during the process of the chromatin condensation. Chromatin is nothing but the genetic material that will be seen in the earlier stages of the mitosis. The centriole, which had undergone duplication during S phase of interphase, now begins to move towards opposite poles of the cell, and the completion of prophase can thus be marked by the following characteristic events. Let us note the characteristic events that we have learned in the prophase. The first main change is the chromosomal material condenses, right, and organizes to form compact mitotic chromosomes, and chromosomes are seen to be composed of two chromatids attached together at the centromere. And the second change that we can see in the prophase is initiation of the assembly of mitotic spindle, the spindle fibers, the network like fibers that will be there inside the cell, and the microtubules, the proteinaceous components of the cell cytoplasm help in this process. Cells at the end of the prophase, when viewed under the microscope, do not show Golgi complexes, endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus and the nuclear envelope. So these are the changes, the main changes that we can see clearly in a cell in this prophase stage. And now let us move forward towards the next stage, that is metaphase. So the complete disintegration of the nuclear envelope marks the start of the second phase of mitosis. Hence the chromosomes are spread through the cytoplasm of this cell, because here the nuclear envelope is completely disintegrated. The key features that we can see in the metaphase are the spindle fibers attached to the kinetochores of chromosomes. At first the spindle fibers will go and get attached to the kinetochores, right, of the chromosomes, and the chromosomes are moved to spindle equator and get aligned along metaphase plate through spindle fibers to both poles. So these are the changes, certain changes that are dominant in the metaphase. Now let us move forward towards the third stage, that is anaphase. So at the onset of anaphase, each chromosome arranged at the metaphase plate is split simultaneously, and the two daughter chromatids, now referred to as the chromosomes of the future daughter nuclei, begin their migration movement towards the two opposite poles. And here we can see the following events, that is the centromere split and the chromatids get separated. And the second main thing that we can see in the anaphase is the chromatids move to the opposite pole. So these are the changes of the anaphase. Now let us move forward towards the last phase of karyokinesis, that is telophase. At the beginning of the final stage of mitosis, that is telophase, the chromosomes that have reached the respective poles decondense and lose their individuality, and the individual chromosomes can no longer be seen, and the chromatin material tends to collect in a mass in two poles. And this is the stage which shows the following key events, that are the chromosomes cluster at the opposite spindle poles and their identity is lost as discrete elements. They are not bonded to one another now. And the second thing that we can see here is nuclear envelope assembles and around the chromosomes clusters actually. So this is the stage that will be opposite to the prophase, we can say, and the nucleolus, Golgi complex and endoplasmic reticulum will get reformed. Now if we proceed towards the second stage of mitosis, that will be cytokinesis. And as I have told you, what is cytokinesis? It is the division of cytoplasm, because till now we have learnt about the division of all the cell organelles, right? Now the cell itself have to divide itself into two. So mitosis accomplishes not only the segregation of the duplicated chromosomes into daughter nuclei, that was karyokinesis, but the cell itself is divided into two daughter cells by a separate process that will be called as cytokinesis, at the end of which the cell division is complete. In an animal cell, this is achieved by the appearance of a furrow in the plasma membrane. How it will take place actually? Just suppose that this is a cell. Just assume it is a cell. Till now we have learnt about the division of the different cell organelles, and we have learnt that all the cell organelles will move towards the polar regions. It means that all the cells have produced its copies. Now it's the time for the division of the cell into two equal halves, or the production of the new progeny or the daughter cells. For this, what will happen in many organisms? A furrow or a cleavage, we can say, will form like this, and slowly it will increase, and like this it will divide it into two equal halves, hence producing two daughter nuclei that will consist of all the other cell organelles. So hence by this the cell division will be completed. Now we have learned everything about mitosis. Now is the time for learning its significance, the importance, right? So mitosis or the equational division is usually restricted to the diploid cells only. However, in some lower plants and in some social insects, haploid cells also divide by mitosis, but it is an exemption. It is very essential to understand the significance of the cell division in the life of an organism. So mitosis results in the production of diploid daughter cells. These daughter cells that are getting formed here are diploid, that is 2n in nature, and generally they will be having a Genetic complement usually identical to that of the parent cell, because they are coming from a single parent and hence they will be very similar. They will be assembling to the parent cell, and the growth of multicellular organisms is due to mitosis only. Cell growth results in disturbing the ratio between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. It therefore becomes essential for the cell to divide to restore the nucleocytoplasmic ratio. A very significant contribution of mitosis is the cell repair. The main function we can say, the main importance or the main use we can say is the cell repair. The cells of the upper layer of the epidermis, cells of the lining of the gut and the blood cells are being constantly replaced. Mitotic divisions in the meristematic tissues, the apical and the lateral meristems results in the continuous growth of plants throughout their life. So that was all about the mitosis. So we have already covered about the mitosis. Now it's the time for this next cell division, that is meiosis. So the production of offspring by sexual reproduction includes the fusion of two gametes. We all know this already, each with a complete haploid set of chromosomes, and gametes are formed from specialized diploid cells, and these specialized kind of cells undergo division that reduces the chromosome number by half and results in the production of haploid daughter cells, and this kind of division will be called as meiosis. Meiosis ensures the production of haploid phase in the life cycle of sexually reproducing organisms, whereas the fertilization restores the diploid phase. We can see meiosis in the gametogenesis of plants and animals, and this leads to the formation of the haploid gametes. The key features of meiosis are, let us discuss what are some key features actually. Meiosis involves two sequential cycles of nuclear and the cell division that will be called as meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 phases, but only a single cycle of DNA replication, and meiosis 1 is initiated after the parental chromosomes have replicated to produce identical sister chromatids at the S phase, and then meiosis involves pairing of homologous chromosomes and recombination between them, and the last key point of meiosis is 4 haploid cells are formed at the end of meiosis 2. At the end of this, 4 haploid cells will form. So these are the main stages of the meiosis, that is meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. Meiosis 1 is again classified into 4 substages, that is prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1 and telophase 1. And coming to the meiosis 2, it will be divided into 4 substages again, and that will be prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2 and telophase 2. So now let us move forward towards the meiosis 1 and the first stage from that is prophase 1. So prophase 1 or the prophase of the first meiotic division is typically longer and more complex when compared to the prophase of the mitosis. It has been further subdivided into following 5 phases, so based on the chromosomal behavior, and that stages are leptotin, zygotin, packetin, diplotin, and the last one is diakinesis. So during the leptotin stage, the chromosomes become gradually visible under the light microscope, and the compaction of the chromosomes continues throughout the leptotin stage. This is followed by the second stage of prophase 1, that is the zygotin. So during this stage what will happen? The chromosomes start pairing together, and this process of association is called as synapsis. The pairing of chromosomes that take place in the second stage of the prophase 1 of the meiosis, that is zygotin. And such paired chromosomes can be termed as homologous chromosomes. Electron micrographs of the stage indicate that chromosome synapsis is accompanied by the formation of the complex structure that will be called as synaptonemal complex, and the complex formed by a pair of synapsed homologous chromosomes is called a bivalent or a tetrad of chromatids. However, these are more clearly visible at the next stage, and the first 2 stages of prophase 1 are relatively short-lived when compared to the next stage, that is packetin, and during this stage bivalent chromosomes now clearly appear as tetrads. This stage is characterized by the appearance of recombination nodules and the sites at which crossing over occurs between non-sister chromatids of the homologous chromosomes. Crossing over is the exchange of genetic material between 2 homologous chromosomes, and the crossing over is also an enzyme mediated process, and the enzyme involved is called as recombinase. The crossing over leads to the recombination of the genetic material on the two chromosomes, and the recombination between homologous chromosomes is completed by the end of the Packettine, leaving the chromosomes linked at the sites of the crossing over. Now at the beginning of the diplotin, it is recognized by the dissolution of the synaptonemal complex and the tendency of the homologous chromosomes of the bivalents to separate from each other, and except at the sites of crossovers we can say. These egg-shaped structures that are forming at the beginning of the diplotin stage will be called as chiasmata. In oocytes of some vertebrates, diplotin can last for months or years. No time limit is there in the oocytes for diplotin stage. The last stage of the prophase 1 of the meiosis is the diokinesis. So this is marked by the terminalization of the chiasmata that was formed in the diplotin stage, and during this phase the chromosomes are fully condensed and the meiotic spindle is assembled to prepare the homologous chromosomes for separation, and by the end of the diokinesis the nucleolus disappears and the nuclear envelope also breaks down, and diokinesis represents the transition to metaphase, the bridge between the prophase and the metaphase we can say. After this only the metaphase will begin. So in the metaphase 1 the bivalent chromosomes align on the equatorial plate. They get settled down on the equatorial plate, and the microtubules from the opposite poles of the spindle attach to the pair of homologous chromosomes. And that's all for the metaphase 1. Now if we proceed towards the anaphase 1, we can see that the homologous chromosomes get separated here, and while sister chromatids remain associated at their centromeres, they will not get separated with one another. And in the telophase 1 we can see that the nuclear membrane and the nucleolus reappear. Cytokinesis follows, and this is called as dyad of cells. Although in many cases the chromosomes do undergo some dispersion, they do not reach the extremely extended state of the interphase nucleus. The stage between the two meiotic division is called the interkinesis and is generally short-lived, and interkinesis is followed by the prophase 2, a much simpler process than the prophase 1. So after this we can begin with the prophase 2, that is the stage in the meiosis 2, and the meiosis 2 is much simpler when compared to the meiosis 1 actually. And prophase 2, in prophase 2 what will happen? It is initiated after cytokinesis itself, usually before the chromosomes have fully elongated. In contrast to meiosis 1, meiosis 2 resembles a normal mitosis, that will be very similar to mitosis actually. The nuclear membrane disappears by the end of the prophase 2 and the chromosomes again become compact. I hope you all remember what we have learned in the prophase of the mitosis. That was same as the prophase 2 of meiosis 2. Now if we proceed towards the metaphase 2, at this stage the chromosomes align at the equator and the microtubules from opposite poles of the spindle get attached to the kinetochores of sister chromatids. And in anaphase 2, it begins with the simultaneous splitting of the centromeres of each chromosome, which was holding the sister chromatids together, allowing them to move toward the opposite poles of the cell again. So the division will start like this, that all the cell organelles will move towards the opposite poles. And in the last stage of meiosis 2, that is telophase 2, meiosis ends with telophase 2 itself, and in which the two groups of chromosomes once again get enclosed by the nuclear envelope. Cytokinesis follows, resulting in the formation of the tetrad of cells. 4 cells will get formed here. By the end of the meiosis, we can see clearly that 4 cells have been formed, and those 4 will be haploid daughter cells. So that was all about the stages of the meiosis, that is meiosis 1 and meiosis 2, and we have learnt about all the stages in detail. Now let us have a look on the significance of the meiosis. So meiosis is the mechanism by which conservation of specific chromosome number of each species is achieved across generations in sexually reproducing organisms. Even though the process paradoxically results in the reduction of chromosome number by half, it also increases the genetic variability in the population of organisms from one generation to the next, and variations are very important for the process of evolution. We all know that already. So that was all about our chapter today, where we have learnt about the cell cycle, the cell divisions, that is mitosis, meiosis and etc. So let us close the session here itself. I hope you all have understood the chapter well. Let's meet in our next class with a new chapter. Thank you.